There we go. Well, hopefully it's going to start recording. There we go, recording started. Lovely, thank you, James. And I'm just going to hand straight over to Ling to tell us about Compassionate Cuppa. If you could all turn your mics off, just so we don't sort of get any background reverb or anything, any kind of noise from elsewhere, that'd be great. And yeah, thank you very much. Over to you, Ling.
Thank you very much, Joe. I wasn't actually aware that I was meant to be doing a slide deck presentation, so haven't actually.
If you just want to talk and tell us about what you're doing, that's absolutely fine as well. That's absolutely fine as well.
Okay, that's great. I mean, it's, thank you very much for inviting me here this morning, and great to see a few familiar faces and maybe some less familiar ones. Yes, I'm Ling, and I run Compassionate Cuppa CIC, and I call myself a wellbeing mentor, where my passion is around mental health and uplifting mental well-being. So sort of Compassionate Cuppa was really born from the idea of really having that cuppa where you connect and explore with an individual what might be on their mind, what their issues may be, and seeing what the options are and motivating people towards positive change. Originally it was sort of like a one-to-one sort of mental health mentoring service, but it has sort of like evolved somewhat during its 3 or so years that I've been running Compassionate Cuppa. So I also sort of run mental well-being projects in the community. So I wrote this program called Compassionate Conversations, and it's my version of developing a peer support network through Compassionate Conversations. Tomorrow, or was it on Friday, I am launching another project, and we're calling this Mind and Movement to Wellbeing. So this is combining compassionate conversations with movement, and the movement is yoga, essentially, so gentle movement. And I'm launching this with Andrew on Friday at the YMCA. So very excited about doing that. Oddly enough, this weekend I'm also at Party in the Park, so doing a mental health drop-in. So that's almost like a formation of really providing, if you like, a drop-in at community events, because actually there is a need where attendees or participants of that community activity may become stressed, experience sensory overload, or just need a place to kind of slightly de-escalate before they rejoin the activity that they've attending. So yeah, and another sort of project that I just want to mention before I end this pitch is the SPACE program, which is Creative Options suicide prevention and self-harm program, and this program is also launching at the YMCA at Graham Road, and SPACE stands for suicide prevention, awareness, connection and education. And recently myself and a few others actually went on quite a long walk around Southampton to engage with different organisations to try and spread the word around the SPACE programme, to encourage individuals who are maybe connected to other organisations that may benefit from accessing SPACE. So yeah, that's pretty much me. So I welcome any questions before I go back to my other role. I also work for Citizens Advice as their mental health project caseworker. So yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ling. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about this amazing project. Quick one from me. What's the referral process? How do we get from person that one of the social prescribers in the room or one of my community navigators works with? How do we get them from talking to us to talking to you?
Okay, so I've got basically obviously hard copy flyers around, like, so Mind and Wellbeing. I've got this kind of like as a poster and flyers, and I've got digital versions of this as well. And obviously on this poster or flyer, it's got my contact details on here. And obviously with Mind and Movement to Wellbeing, this one is launching on Friday, the sign up session, okay, at the beginning. And if there are individuals that can't make the sign up session, I have got an online form for them to complete, but obviously they would need to contact me either by phone or my email to let me know, and then get them obviously enrolled, hopefully. And then we start this on the 16th. So it's
About 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
that's
there's a bit of a lead time. So that's this one. But I can send the digital copy of this to you, Joe. That's not a problem. So.
Yes, that'd be great. Please do. And which YMCA is it? Is it the one down in by the library in Woolston, or?
This is the one in Newtown, so on Graham Road, so sort of almost the back of Antelope House. So,
oh yes, I know.
Yes.
What you mean. Yeah, yes, the one where Voice FM is and things like that as well. Yes, and what does the kind of session sort of look like for a person coming along? What would kind of happen from sort of coming in to the end of the session?
So with Mind and Movement to Wellbeing, it's a 7-week program, and it's combining both compassionate conversations and yoga. Now, the compassionate conversations part is around about a 2-hour session with a break in between, and we build on it week from week to enable participants to be able to share their story around something either they've experienced or their recovery journey, or something that's actually happened to them that they're comfortable in sharing. Sharing is one part of the program, but the other part, really, the other side, is how the other participants respond to that story. So learning the skills around empathy and strengths, and really after almost the work in a way begins after the program finishes, because once, I mean, I believe that everyone has the skills anyway, but it's just about fine tuning them. But then after the program finishes, it's about continuing practicing those skills. So the group may choose to informally meet up and, become less socially isolated as a result. So there's that sense of feeling better through compassionate conversations, because where we have a space that we're understood and kind of accepted of who we are, okay, we sometimes can also change our perspective around when we realize that we're not alone in what we might be experiencing. So to be heard and understood is almost like the foundation of all of it, really. That's the essence of it. But on the other hand, the yoga aspect of it is also very important, because increasing activity can help people feel better as well. So that's the thinking behind combining the two together. Sometimes some people need to move a little bit to kind of get the mind going, and some people kind of feel, well, the mind needs to get going before they can move. So it's tapping into both aspects of it. So it's a 3-hour session. It's a longer session because of it.
Brilliant.
I hope that answers your question there, Joe.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant answer. Thank you. Fantastic. Does anyone else in the room have a question? If you want to pop your hand up, or I can. Yeah. Anyone else? No. Cool. Well, as I always say, if you think of anything, Lynn, you happy for me to share your details after this, or the kind of the email address for the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes, yeah. I mean, the best way of getting in touch with me is with contact@compassionatecuppa.co.uk. So it's sort of like all the C's. So, but finally, just before I go, I just obviously this is the space flyer, and it's for under creative options. So their suicide prevention self-harm program.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Have you sent that over to me, and
Yes.
We'll get that circulated after this meeting to a wider network.
Yes, that's great.
It's going to come us around. But brilliant. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for coming to tell us about this project. It sounds fantastic.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. I've got to go, so
No
take
problem.
care.
Have a good day. I'll catch you soon. See you later. Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Right. Let's move on to our second speaker, Dr. Skik. You're going to have to forgive me on the pronoun. I've been looking at your emails since we had a conversation and just trying to practice. Skitsty?
That's okay. So my name is Skyster. A lot of people actually call me Sky.
Sky. Okay.
Sky is much easier for everyone. To be honest, even my partner actually calls me Sky.
I am sorry, Sky. I was looking. I meant to ask you over email about pronunciation. I thought,
okay,
I'll try it on the day.
Absolutely fine. Don't worry. So my surname, my name is actually from Lithuania. Just pronounced Skaiste Lincevičiūtė. So it's quite it's quite tricky one.
Fantastic. I will hand over to you and tell a little about the research work that you're doing, and you have the floor to speak to our prescribers and community partners.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you again for this opportunity. So I'll share the slides and obviously I'll explain what I'm doing here today. Can you see the slides okay? Excuse me. Okay, perfect. So as Joe said, my name is Skaiste Lincevičiūtė. I'm a research fellow working at the University of Southampton. It was supposed to be me and Lyra joining today, but unfortunately Lyra couldn't make it. She was working on another project. So she's a kind of principal investigator for the study. So I guess what kind of the home take message will be about this presentation is that we really wanted to sort of raise awareness about what we're doing with this research, and hopefully kind of gather some interest from yourselves, obviously as social prescribing link workers, to see if you would perhaps be interested in taking part in our research. And obviously I'll explain a little bit more about it. So as you can see, the title is kind of understanding, addressing, and meeting the complex needs of people who have physical and mental health long-term conditions. So we have quite a broad research team, a lot of kind of academics working at the University of Southampton, but also several members from the patient and public involvement group to make sure that kind of really the questions and the aims that we're trying to sort of address with this research are really sort of capturing the essence of what matters to people who have physical and mental long-term conditions, to make sure that obviously research is kind of capturing that and answering. So we're part of the long-term conditions research group at the university. So within this research group, we're working on kind of really various different research projects. And obviously one of this is focused on understanding how we can support individuals, like I said, who have physical and mental long-term conditions. And obviously kind of social prescriber comes into this mix, and to see how the social prescribers support what they do to help these individuals. So in terms of the literature, as you probably know this very well, a lot of people who tend to have physical long-term conditions are more likely to have mental health problems, such as kind of depression and anxiety, which effectively kind of results in people living with lots of various different hardships related to kind of complex psychosocial, environmental, financial issues as well. As a result, NHS proposed an initiative called Social Prescribing Link Workers, really kind of to help address these complex issues and these needs. Sorry. So with regards to existing gaps, social prescribing link workers is a great initiative, but what we're learning is that there's no kind of standardized and specific approach with regards to how social prescribing link workers support different groups of individuals, particularly those who have physical and mental health long-term conditions. Different kind of approaches and different ways of working means that it's very difficult to understand if something is effective and if something is working as well, which also means that when there's no kind of clear guidelines or perhaps a protocol, it's difficult for the primary care services to integrate this workforce in ensuring that obviously the needs of these individuals are addressed. So with regards to this project, what we're hoping to do is to understand what are the barriers and facilitators to successful implementation of the social prescribing link workers' role in the community for supporting these individuals. And kind of very brief, the overview of the project. So we currently are at the data collection stage. So what we're doing, we're collecting interviews with adults who have physical and mental health long-term conditions. So as an example, could be perhaps someone who has, say, arthritis and depression or anxiety, could be someone having perhaps diabetes, perhaps another physical illness, as well as depression and anxiety, or perhaps anxiety. So it's kind of that focuses on making sure that we're really capturing those who have physical and mental health. That's kind of our inclusion criteria. The other part of our project will involve focus groups with link workers. So what we want to learn is really to understand how social prescribing link workers support individuals with this particular group of patients. Kind of what are the approaches, what is the process in terms of supporting, and also where improvements, if necessary, are needed. Of course, our research has been kind of informed by a thorough literature review, and kind of the other phases will consist of setting up workshops with stakeholders, so including voluntary organizations as well as link workers, to develop a recommendation of what's needed in terms of when it comes to supporting these individuals, and of course dissemination at the very end of the project. Very important to emphasize that our study has been and kind of is continuously informed by the members of the public and patient involvement groups, to make sure, like I said at the very start, that the research is kind of addressing the essence of what matters to these individuals, and making sure that the questions we're asking are important, and yeah, then we're addressing what matters to these individuals. So with regards to where and who, so sorry if it sounds a little bit of kind of repetitive, but I just wanted obviously to kind of thoroughly present everything. So where are we focusing? We're focusing on Hampshire and Oxfordshire. So we will be, like I said, interviewing individuals who have physical and mental long-term conditions, but also interviewing, like I said, social prescribing link workers from these areas as well. And kind of coming towards the end of the presentation now. So like I said, following the completion of our interviews and focus groups, the next stage will consist of developing recommendations for a social prescribing link workers program, and this will be kind of developed together with charity and voluntary organizations, primary care networks, to really ensure that we have a structured protocol program for how social prescribing link workers can support these individuals. What is the process? How do they go about it? And like I said, where improvements are needed as well. So what I guess I wanted to do today, which I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you, is, I guess, really to kind of, create alliance with organizations and link workers, but also, like I said, to raise awareness. So, if there's anyone who's interested in taking part perhaps in the focus group, would be very interested to hear from you, hear your thoughts. Perhaps you might have come across some suggestions that you think are really important. Again, it's very important to learn from individuals who kind of deliver the service, to ensure that kind of any implementations are very useful and based on what is actually going on in the kind of in the practice and in sort of in real life terms. But also, if there's any individuals you have come across who might be interested in taking part in the kind of one-to-one interview, so those who have physical and mental health long-term conditions, and you think they might be interested in contributing and sharing their thoughts of what are their needs, what kind of support they need, how they found social prescribing for their lives and their health and their well-being, whether they thought it was useful, etc. So that would be very useful. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my home take message as well. But yes, if anyone is interested in sort of sharing your thoughts, perhaps taking part in the focus groups, we would really appreciate that. We'd like to learn from you. Yes, so I think that's that from me. Let me stop sharing my slides. And obviously, if there's any questions, I'll very happily answer them. Stop sharing. I think I've stopped it. Yeah. Hopefully you managed to hear me okay.
Thank you to Sky. That was great. We have a first hand up from Debbie Collis.
Oh, you muted.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Debbie. Oh, no, I'm still on mute.
There we go.
Oh, there you.
No, we can hear you. Okay.
Okay, right. I was just going to ask if you wanted, one of my colleagues does a supported housing forum where I think, they might get a lot of input from there, whether you would like to attend that meeting as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It was actually when Link was kind of giving her talk, it made me think that there's quite a lot of sort of groups and opportunities out there, and it's sometimes difficult to know, especially for researchers, what is out there. So absolutely, this would be very, very useful for us. Thank you.
Okay, and if you've got any information, we can share that as well on our Facebook pages, etc.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Do you mind if I kind of take your email contact and just obviously sort of arrange that after this meeting?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Right.
I think Jenny raised your hand. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Just a quick question. If we're interested in being part of the focus groups, or if we have patients who we think might be, a great case study for you, do we email? I saw your email address was at the end of the slide. Is that the best way to make contact?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's also a mobile phone number if individuals kind of want to phone me. Is a work mobile phone number. Always have to kind of emphasize it's not personal phone number that I'm giving out to people. So they're welcome to send an email or kind of give me a call or a message, and I'll call them back. So obviously to make sure that there's no kind of charges for them.
Brilliant, thank you. And what's the time frame for this piece of work as well? How quickly would you like to, be doing the focus groups and things?
Absolutely, that's a very good question. So we're currently collecting kind of one-to-one interviews with individuals, and sort of our time frame is sort of May to June. But at some point in June, we really will be kind of start to sort of setting up these focus groups with obviously with link workers. So it's really kind of looking around June, July, I'd say, for focus groups. But we will be obviously we're raising awareness to sort of gather interest from link workers. But yeah, we're looking around June time starting focus groups as well.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jenny. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? No, okay.
I have one. Sorry, because I joined later.
Yes,
Just-
no, that's fine.
Sorry.
Yes, did you have anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you very much, Joe, for your help, and Sky, thank you very much for the super clear presentation. I have just written here in the chat the email of Sky and the phone number of the work. So if it is easier for you also, Jenny, and any other person that would like to take part in the focus groups, or any patient, because maybe sometimes it's easier, you know, to call or, yeah. So thank you very much for your help.
You're very, very welcome. And yeah, I agree. Sometimes in these situations, it's kind of easier to kind of have a chat offline, or kind of sort of have a bit of a conversation, kind of one-to-one, about kind of linking. And we'll have a chat offline as well. And the kind of emails we've had, it's kind of been based around coming here today to talk about the work that you're doing. But we can chat offline to see what we can do, if there's anything else with SoLinked we can do to support. If you send the presentation over to me, I can forward that out as well. So here
Yes.
today we have about 17, tell a lie, sort of members of sort of various sort of social prescribers across the city who have the different BCNs, and a couple of community partners as well, and Debbie's from the local authority as well, and Lepsha, who made a little cameo appearance just then, come on screen, which I enjoyed. There's lots of people, and we can get the message out to the wider network. You know, I've got a sort of link about sort of, you know, 60 emails, something like that. So it will go out really far and wide to the different community partners who might be interested in supporting you on this very worthwhile work.
Thank you.
Just a kind of question about functionality, you might have touched this. The focus groups, are they done virtually? Are they done face to face? How will those look?
That's a very good question. Is likely it'll be virtually, I'd say, through Teams, purely because obviously kind of for the convenience of link workers, you know, kind of working obviously in different perhaps locations, seeing different individuals. So it's likely to be virtually, yes.
Okay, and with the kind of link, obviously you're doing this in Oxfordshire as well. We kind of be bringing the two sort of localities together, the two locations together. So will, you know, there'll be a chance to kind of people sort of link with people from Oxfordshire and such.
Yes, that's a very good question. So where mentioned in the slides, kind of at the recommendation stage. So this is, I think, where it's very important to make sure that, like you say, we link up and we kind of create that alliance, kind of learn from each other the practices. So I think that stage of the research, once we have our data, and obviously we will be looking, perhaps it might be like a day workshop, half a day workshop, where it's kind of almost in a very sort of basic terms, bringing people together I guess that's sometimes the only way to hear each other's thoughts and kind of the thinking around, especially when it comes to kind of developing some kind of a recommendation and protocol for creating a bit of a perhaps more consistent approach, if you like, but also learning. There might be some practices going on in Oxfordshire that perhaps Southampton could kind of learn from each other, like you say. So yeah, that would be at kind of the recommendations workshop stage, at the sort of fourth stage of the research, if you like.
Cool. And you know, just what you said there about kind of learning from each other, that's a real ethos of this particular group, you know, all kind of coming together. Everyone's got great ideas, doesn't matter where they work or what they do, everyone's got great ideas, and hopefully we can all come together and kind of share that practice and help one another out. Debbie, you got your hands up again.
I think I've done that faster than this time. I was just going to just make a suggestion, really, that if you're just only doing it online, that obviously will limit who will access, because there's a lot of particular age group that don't go online, and even nowadays people can't afford it necessarily, so that might restrict you on your numbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely take this into consideration. Thank you for that. So we kind of considering that on a sort of case by case basis. So if there are any sort of individuals who who can't really, like you say, make it to kind of online conversation, we also offer telephone conversation. So things like, obviously, there's a ways now of recording the interview. Even perhaps with the focus group, there's kind of a teleconference where you can join in the person through a phone as well. But also for one-to-one interviews, like I said, on case-by-case basis, if there's anyone kind of meeting that eligibility criteria, we would be probably considering, obviously, interviewing them in person as well. Kind of, we have obviously mentioned that in our process of the study, but it's just more, again, sort of like I said, case-by-case basis, discussing what are the possibilities for that person to take part, whether obviously a phone approach is possible, and obviously if not, then kind of as a last resort as well.
Wonderful, fantastic, great presentation. Any other questions from anyone? Cool. Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Really, you're both
for
really
your time.
welcome, and hopefully we can help you out as best as we can. You are more than welcome to stay around for the next presentations and the rest of the meeting if you wish. Yeah, thank you once again. Emma, hello, Emma Spencer from Steps to Wellbeing. Thank you very much. Will you be, or do you have a presentation for us?
I do. I'm going to
Mm.
apologise though, because I've made it probably quite long, so I really will not go through it all in loads of detail, but I'm happy for it to be shared because it might be helpful info to be had
If you see
your
if you
own
see
time.
me doing this, then
Please do.
that-
Honestly, I'll whiz
that'll be
through
the
as
same.
much as I can, and so I know sometimes it's more important to have question time than what you can be shared with. Right, okay, I haven't done a presentation on Teams in a long time. Right,
You will
let
be
me get it.
wonderful. The floor is yours. They don't bite this bunch. They're a good bunch.
It's good to know because I feel a bit rusty. Okay, so let me. How do I do full screen? Is that? Oh, have I done that right? I think so. Okay. So starting off with, Steps to Wellbeing used to be under the IAPT umbrella, so improving access psychological therapies. NHS England have decided to change that. So we are now being rebranded, as all IAPT services are, as NHS Talking Therapies. And I think it should be NHS Talking Therapies for anxiety and depression is what I think I have missing. So I will check that before I send this to you. But Steps to Wellbeing is the Southampton City branch of this. It was set up sort of 2009, sort of 2010 we've been going for. So long time now in Southampton City. And as you probably know, we are a self-referral service predominantly. However, we very much welcome referrals from people like yourselves, other healthcare providers, GPs. We have regular liaison meetings with mental health teams, April House, community mental health, early intervention and psychosis. We try and meet quite regularly with a lot of those areas, sort of drug and alcohol services. And so we kind of take referrals in from all areas, but clients can self-refer directly to us. We cover GPs, which I guess is predominantly probably the areas you cover, SO14 to SO19 GP, so across sort of within the city boundaries of Southampton. And just a bit of background, I suppose at the moment we are a team of about 140 staff, which is sort of been rapidly growing over the past couple of years with sort of expansion for mental health services. We made up of admin, we've got about 10 people in admin, psychological wellbeing practitioners, high intensity CBT therapists, we've got high intensity counsellors, we have a team of now 12 employment advisors, and we have 4 peer support practitioners. So really sort of busy team. We work for anyone over the age of 18 with a registered city GP. That does also include homeless healthcare GP surgery as well. So they don't need to have sort of a fixed abode as such, they just need to have a GP registration. Just thought I'd put in there a bit about the people that we don't currently work with. So anyone that is currently experiencing a mental health crisis, so someone who is not in a place of stability to engage in therapy at the moment, they need more sort of risk management, more safety support. People who currently have a severe and enduring mental health illness, that is currently quite active. So someone who is experiencing maybe a bipolar episode, someone who has very current personality disorder symptoms or psychotic symptoms. If someone has a previous diagnosis and say they have not had a psychotic episode for over 2 years, and they're kind of all that those symptoms are being managed on mental medication and previous therapy, and they have a very different thing they want to work on, so maybe work stress, then that is something we would consider. So we don't actually treat the severe and enduring mental illness. And we also don't kind of work there where depression or anxiety, sort of common mental health problem isn't the primary disorder. So maybe eating disorders, substance use, alcohol use, and we would assess maybe, but we would then signpost on to relevant support services, and we would help them get engaged with those teams. Bit of background just to kind of the lots of different treatments that we do. As I say, we've got a whole range of staff. So we offer cognitive behavioural therapy, which I suppose you could say is our core intervention that we do. We offer cognitive behavioural therapy within low intensity, which is sort of psychoeducation, early onset. We do something called guided self-help, so very much coaching people through those skills. And we also then offer high intensity cognitive behavioural therapy. Perhaps if those symptoms have been a bit more persistent, been a longer onset, they maybe have gone through low intensity, but actually we just need a bit of extra work to kind of really embed those skills. And then we also offer a range of counselling modalities, which I've included a bit more information on in a moment. We offer EMDR for Access 1 PTSD, so trauma from within adulthood. So eye movement and desensitization reprogramming treatment. At the moment, the NICE guidance is only that the evidence base is for PTSD. So EMDR we can't offer for any other anxiety disorders at the moment. We offer, though, a range of treatments, whether that's through face-to-face, telephone, video. We do sort of online courses or webinars. And we also are starting back up face-to-face groups as well. We have a high intensity depression group starting in person in June. And we hope to kind of pick up the momentum of that. We also offer employment support for any patients currently in therapy, and they can access through, as say, face-to-face, telephone, video, all those usual realms. We also have peer support, and we have a group called Little Steps that's run several times a week for any current or ex-service users. So we are very much thinking about, we're looking at, say, common mental health problems. We're looking at those symptoms of depression. We're looking at symptoms of stress and anxiety symptoms. Thinking potentially more around sort of maybe worry or excessive worry, feelings of panic, intrusive thoughts, phobias, excessive worries about our health. And maybe just almost within that as well, a bit of an adjustment. Someone's going through a life transition, and maybe that's linked to a long-term health condition, or whether they are going through perhaps difficulties at work or difficulties with family relationships, or maybe kind of cost of living at the moment, and they need that extra support going forward.
Emma,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
The presentation has just remained on the first tile.
Oh no.
So I was just wondering if it needed to move on. Might be worth sort of.
I'm on slide 7 in my own head. I wonder
Oh,
how.
right. Okay. Yeah, I'm still only seeing Southampton, the first slide at the moment. I don't know if that's the same for everyone else in the room.
Yes. Okay. Let me see if I can.
Try. Do you want me to
Right.
present? I think did you send it over to me?
I did send it to you.
Do you want me to present it and then hopefully
Probably better. My rusty skills, definitely.
No, not at all. We can do our best sort of Chris Whitties and next slide, please.
Yes,
That kind
absolutely.
of thing.
Right. As I say, I will
Right.
sort of whitter through, but there's more I will send. Obviously, can have access to all of this for you guys.
Brilliant. I'll forward it along after. So you're on slide 7.
Yes, probably go on to slide 8 actually.
Cool. So I've got slide 8, 5-year forward view.
Yes, that's the one.
1 second, please.
So just on the previous slides, what it was kind of got a list of those symptoms of depression or anxiety that we maybe focus with. But
Does
also,
that come up for everyone? Sorry, Emma.
Yes,
Does
that
come
has.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's come up for me. I was just going to kind of add in just few of you might know, you know, around 2018, the 5-year forward view, if not a bit before that, the NHS 5-year forward view focused quite heavily on mental health and physical health, and kind of having that holistic approach, which I'm sure is something you guys all see quite regularly yourselves in your day-to-day work. And so within that, then within talking therapies, we did extra training at working with long-term health conditions. We trained up the majority of our staff, and we continue to keep training up staff who haven't received that as soon as they've hit qualification. And we then work quite closely with a lot of the physical health teams in the city. So we work, for example, with chronic pain, with the respiratory services, with diabetes. And for example, with diabetes, we would attend their MDTs, and we would attend their clinics where they meet those patients on that introductory. And when they're getting introduced to like the dietitian and other practitioners, we would also be there to meet with them and maybe have that conversation about the impact on mental health and our long-term health conditions. And we'd be able to kind of do a bit of a dual working with them. Obviously, over the past few years, we included then long COVID into that, and we attend the long COVID MDT, which happens on a weekly basis, which was set up, and we run a long COVID psychoeducational webinar, which focuses on it from a depression and anxiety perspective. So yeah, so kind of that's been growing quite a lot over the past few years, trying to work within the city as kind of a holistic approach with all those teams. Obviously then during COVID, we kind of paused a bit in the in-person clinics, but very much back on the ground and kind of everyone back together. Next slide, Joe. And I suppose that just kind of, this was just kind of, as you say, probably as I say, what you see is very much is that link between it. We see everybody kind of in that middle bit, especially where we realise the amount of people who have comorbid mental health and physical health symptoms. Next slide. So very much just for those that you may or may not know, cognitive behavioural therapy, as I say, is our sort of core intervention that we offer, and we're very much looking at that reaction people have to situations. So we often know we can't change that situation, but we're looking to help people manage their reactions, that kind of their emotions, their distress, and think about how it's making us feel. And we focus quite heavily on something called the 5 areas model. And Joe, if you just go on to the next slide, just gives you a bit of an example there, thinking about that situation that is at the top, and we can't really change that. That's often out of our control, but we're looking then at how it's making us think, how it's making us feel sort of emotionally and physically, and then it's looking at how it's making us sort of behave, things that maybe we're doing more of or things that we're doing less of, and whether that's through sort of a depression cycle and we kind of withdraw and we kind of maybe hide ourselves away, we stop reaching out to people, we start making excuses and saying no, or whether it's through sort of an anxiety response, we think very much about that cycle of avoidance, that kind of fear. Actually, if I can get out and escape, I'm going to feel a bit better. And we get that short-term relief, but then it kind of keeps coming back to us. And just as you can see there, Joe, I've just put in a couple of extra slides there, just thinking about the low mood response or anxiety response, which I won't go through in as much detail, but you've got that information there. And then just a bit more information there as well for you guys. If you go on to the next slide, and the next one, bear with me. I told you I like to whistle on in all these bits. So this slide here is a really good way. So we do questionnaires. People probably know that from talking therapies. Love a questionnaire for everything these days in the NHS. So as much as patients like them or don't like them, should I say, we have to do them. And it's a really good way of picking out those key symptoms. So particularly maybe in your sessions, I was thinking that if someone isn't maybe recognising that they've got low mood or anxiety, these sort of the top 2 questions and the bottom 2 is a really key way of picking out potentially any of those symptoms. So the questionnaires, top 2 low mood ones come from something called the PHQ-9, which is actually a 9 questionnaire focus. But these top 2 questions are the real kind of key ones to pick out symptoms of depression. And then the bottom 2 questions there are focused around generalized anxiety, potential symptoms. So if someone's not sure, and rather than going into maybe all the questionnaires with them, which I'm sure sure that's not something you would do, but this can be a good way to kind of start that conversation off with them, really. And then if you go on to the next slide, just gives you a bit more of a breakdown about CBT. And I thought I put this in here because I thought it might be quite helpful if some of your clients aren't that sure, just about explaining it to them. But CBT very much is that evidence-based treatment for depression and for anxiety. It's what the NICE guidance recommends. Sometimes I think, and you may hear this from people, is people who often go, CBT didn't work for me. And it's a really hard one because they get that really fixed view that actually it didn't work and it won't work again. The difficulty that we have with clients, and what I always try and get our practitioners to be really kind of quite frank with our clients on, is this the right time for them? Because often CBT doesn't work when we've tried it at a wrong point in their journey, because it does involve motivation. It does require workings from the client to do. And it's that internal change that we have to make. Often people can be at a point of a journey where they're still waiting for that external situation to change, and that then has a barrier to CBT. So we keep pushing back against it. So that's why I thought I would include just a bit of information here, which is really good to go through with clients to get their kind of that expectation coming across with them so that they really know what's needed. Because I think often we go into therapy and we want someone to do something for us. We want something to just change, don't we? But actually we don't understand that we have to make that change, and we're not often always ready for it. And if you go on to the next slide there, it's similar with counselling. We still need to be ready to make that change. But we offer a sort of a range of different types of counselling. The only counselling we offer, though, is for depression. So the NICE guidance don't recommend counselling as a modality for anxiety symptoms. So it is only cognitive behavioural therapy for anxiety. The majority of counselling we offer is something called generic counselling. So it's sort of 6 sessions. It's that first level of intervention of counselling, and very much particularly if someone's had a recent sort of situation happen to them, or maybe, for example, with a long-term health condition, they've had a recent diagnosis and they're having a real difficulty at the moment, kind of maybe accepting how that will change or how that kind of will impact on them. And they're not maybe ready for CBT to think about what I need to do different, what they need to do differently, but they need to just process that loss of what it's going to mean to their life. And so then counselling's that really good place. We also then offer something for counselling for depression, which is 16 sessions, more for people who have had quite recurrent episodes of counselling or recurrent episodes of depression even. So it keeps coming back, and we need to kind of look at that more emotional link that depression's caused, that emotional kind of interaction that's on.
Emma,
happening with us. Yes, of course.
Sorry to interject. I'm just conscious we're a bit over time as a speaker.
I've whittled, and honestly, I will send all of this out to everybody. But I suppose, do you want to go through any questions?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll leave the sort of, I'll send this out.
Yeah.
To the group. Sorry to stop you mid-flow. It was a wonderful presentation. I was conscious of, because I've got one more kind of set of speaker to go. If we do some questions just quickly, and then what I'll do is I'll forward that out. And then if anyone's got any questions they want to forward on, then we can I can put them in touch with you.
Absolutely, yeah. You can include my email in your information to go out, and if anyone's got any questions, come to me directly.
Brilliant.
That's not a problem. But yeah, any direct questions now?
I think I just saw a hand go up. Debbie, was that you? Collis? Oh, no. Okay. No, accidental hand. Okay. Cool. Sorry, Emma.
No, that's okay.
That's fine. What we'll do then, yeah, if I send the presentation out,
yeah,
and then if there's any sort of key points you want to kind of make, let me know, and I'll put that on. And then if I put your email as well, and if anyone wants to get in touch, then we can do that. What it might be worth doing is maybe talking about doing another presentation. We did some sort of special sort of one-off ones last year. We've not managed to do them this year. We're kind of specific speakers, so maybe we can have a chat about doing something like that as well. I was coming to another forum to have a chat with people about the kind of work that you guys do and what can help.
Absolutely, that's not a problem at all. Always around to help at any point. So just, yeah, let me know.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. Thanks so much for coming.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Have a good afternoon.
And you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm just going to jump straight to next speaker. Abby Mason.
Hello.
The floor is yours. Sorry, a
Um,
little bit later than you. Is that jump straight in? The floor is yours.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm yes, I'm Abby. I'm the administrator for the Southampton Mental Health Network. I'm just going to attempt to share my screen, which I haven't done on Teams before.
Do you want me to do it for you?
Or I think it's coming, maybe.
It is. I think
It is?
you are. Yes, you're good to go. Can
Brilliant.
everyone see that? Cool.
Amazing. So the vision for the Southampton Mental Health Network is to make Southampton a mental health friendly city for all, ensuring equality, diversity and inclusion. And there are a number of ways we strive to do this. We encourage people to work together, to share information, ideas, resources. We encourage the development of tools for good practice, such as policies and procedures. And we've benefited that ourselves from kind of setting up our own sort of safeguarding policies and benefited from other people kind of inputting into that and working with us on that. We encourage members to support other organisations in the city and support the services that they provide. And we work together to find out what is already going on in the city. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So we formed the network in 2019, and we had 12 members at the time who kind of all joined by signing our Memorandum of Understanding, which is a document that kind of detailed our aims and objectives. And this has been sitting under Communicare in Southampton, which you may already be aware of. It is a Good Neighbours charity. Myself and Annie, obviously, if you haven't heard of us, would love to chat to you another time about what we do at Communicare. Within the network, we believe that we all have a part to play. So we believe that we're all in this together. By working together, we can achieve what we can't achieve alone. So whether that's due to time limitations, funding restrictions, resources, anything like that, we believe that by working together, we can achieve more. And the second part is that we believe that we all have mental health. So wherever we are on the spectrum, whether we're fortunate to have a robust mental health, whether we live with a mental illness that poses daily challenges to our lives, we all experience mental health, and we all are very likely to know somebody who lives with a mental illness. So mental health really does affect us all. We are open to anybody who lives or works in Southampton. That's not to say if that's not you, that we wouldn't kind of allow you to be a member, but we are very much focused on Southampton. So we would like to know kind of if you lived outside of Southampton, what would your interest in Southampton be? And yeah, we kind of are very much focusing on Southampton. So we're not looking to expand to other cities. We have grown since 2019, so we now have around 250 members, which represent over 115 different organisations. So around 30 of those members are individuals, and the rest belong to an organisation. So several of those organisations have more than one representative. Our aims are to create safe spaces for discussion, to be understanding and supportive of mental ill health, to boost well-being and resilience, and to improve attitudes, understanding and education in Southampton. And again, as I talked a little bit earlier, a large part of achieving those aims is by working together. We've had the privilege of being supported by the Integrated Commissioning Unit, and we're currently in discussion with them about kind of continuing that provision moving forward. And alongside this, our trustees are looking into alternative sources of funding, and we are looking into grants that we're able to apply for to ensure that we can continue to grow. So we have quite a diverse range of members. So examples are we have employees from Southern Health and Solent NHS. We have counsellors, social prescribers, we have members from Steps to Wellbeing, we've got service providers such as Solent Mind, and smaller community groups such as Creative Options, then individuals with lived experience and family, friends and carers of those with lived experience. So between our members, we really do cover quite almost like a holistic view of mental health and well-being. So some of our members focus on physical health, some on education, and we've got sort of nature therapies, art therapies, theatre groups. So it really is quite, you know, there is something for everybody. We don't just focus on mental illness and crisis support, although that is a part of our kind of membership provision, but we also are very keen on focusing on mental health and well-being as well. So we've recently received our charity registration in September last year. They're quite a new charity, and we have secured a bank account recently so that we are able to again apply for funding, but also our trustees have decided to charge a £2 per year membership fee. So any members who join us from now onwards, including our previous members, will need to register and pay £2 a year. The trustees wanted to keep that as minimal as possible to ensure that it's affordable for everybody. And it really is just kind of a contribution to ensure that we're all working towards that same vision. We've selected quite a diverse board of trustees. So we currently have 6 trustees. Our chair, who is Sue Hayward, she is in mental health, first aid and education. We've got a trustee with a finance background, a retired professor of psychiatry. We've got somebody who is on the Council of Faiths, somebody with lived experience of mental illness, and a family and carer of somebody with with lived experience. And this we try to keep it diverse, and it really helps us to be more inclusive going forward, as well as trying to reflect our membership. We have been working hard on getting a website live. I've popped the link on here as well, so that will go out to everybody at the end. So this is a place to sort of detail more about who we are and what we do, as well as showcase our members' organisational details and contact details, so that it's sort of a landing page that people can find what support is available and what events are going on in the city. And we've been really fortunate to have been selected to showcase a separate page on the website for specifically targeting 16 to 25-year-olds. So that is in development, still in the early stages, so it's not live on our website yet. But the aim is that that age group can come and again, just figure out kind of what is available, what support is there for them in the city. So why should you sign up to be a member with us? So a big part of what we do is networking. So that connection with each other, both with individuals and organisations in the city, a chance for you to hear what's going on and to meet organisations. And I think that really benefits you as a social prescriber, because there really is something for everybody. And the more equipped you are with the knowledge of the awareness of what support's available in the city yourselves, the more sort of options you have for service users to refer them onto. We also encourage co-production, so kind of working together, whether that's collaborating on projects, getting involved in each other's events, applying for joint funding, and everything like that. We, again, think that by working together, we can achieve what we can't achieve alone. And finally, community information. So we produce a weekly newsletter every Friday, where our members contribute their information. So this often includes courses, surveys, any kind of projects and events that are going on, also job vacancies, survey, service updates, and much more. So we have a section that is specifically for our members, and then the rest of the roundup is information that you can use yourselves and share as well. And yes, so if you would like any more information or to become a member, this is the email that will go out to you that you can contact me on. And we'd love to talk to you about the network a bit more detail.
Fantastic, wonderful presentation. Brilliant, Abby. Thank you so much. I can see Annie is in the room as well. Hello, Annie.
Hello, sorry, I'm having to pop in and out because I'm a part of something else that's going on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Blue tits have flown the box. So I'm heavily involved in blue tits this morning, those that wish to know.
Okay. My reception cut out a bit there, so I didn't totally catch what you said. Something had flown the box?
The blue tit.
The blue tits. So we've had a nesting box with a camera in it that has been tracking the lives of a family of blue tits. And this morning we've got a wildlife expert giving us a little talk about blue tits and their behaviour and everything. And unfortunately, the blue tits literally flew this morning. So the nesting box is now empty. So we're having to look at the past recordings. Anyway,
we'll have to talk about
that's
that
the sort of
Annie,
stuff
because I've got a little birdhouse in my back garden which has got some blue tits living in it, and I would love to get a camera to sort of watch them, to sort of see what they get up to. It's really nice to see them kind of come in and out. So anyway, back to the conversation at hand.
Frank would be happy to instruct you. That is the sort of stuff that Communicare gets involved in for everybody's information.
What I would say as well is, having worked with Annie for a number of years and knowing the brilliant networking that Communicare and the Mental Health Network are doing, that's a fantastic organisation to be involved with, and fantastically knowledgeable people who can link you with other great groups, other great services, and just fantastically knowledgeable people to work with. Does anyone have any questions for Abby and Annie? Okay.
Clearly, Abby's presentation was so absolutely brilliant that it's answered every question you may think you have. But hopefully it does, even though actually today you may not have immediate questions, you do know where to go to after today. If you've got things that come up that you think might be relevant to the Mental Health Network or anything that we do.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important to get hold of the fact that the network is not there to provide services itself. That's not something that the network does. But what it does do is connect people together, and Abby really focused on that, so that we know what each other are doing and we can support one another in making sure that people are able to do that effectively. I mean, Ling is a good example, who you had at the beginning of today's session. She is a very active member, and it makes a huge difference that she is linking between a number of different organisations, including Communicare, to make sure that we're able to deliver the best that we can deliver on behalf of our service users. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And also, we do have had the power to feed into the way in which the big statutory providers, so particularly the NHS, but also housing providers and others, how they develop the way that they provide their services. And that is really, really, it's helpful, but it's also gives us a feeling that we can really together make a difference to the way the city is running. I hope that's making sense to everybody.
Well said, Annie. No, absolutely well said. Does anyone have any questions for Annie and Abby? Okay, brilliant. I don't think I need to add anything else on top of that, Annie. To be honest, that was far more far more eloquent than I could have ever put it. So thank you so much for the pair of you for coming along. Wonderful presentation. And I will send it out. And if anyone wants to get in touch or you know, I would say to definitely join the network, please do. I'll send details about how they can do that as well. Cool. Thank you very much. Lovely. Right, we're running a little bit behind time, but that's okay. That's okay. It's about the journey, not the destination. You know, we can do these things. Let's have a short break for 5 minutes or so. Just get a cup of tea or go to the toilet or whatever. I'm going to stop recording from now. So we're going to stop recording here, and this will be what